Okay, so I'm here with Fai. We're going to do a quick brainstorm jam just for refresher, a brainstorm jam, 2 to 4 people. There's two of us. We're going to try to do it in the shortest time as possible so that we kind of give an overview. We're going to have we have storms, but we're going to call them sessions today. We have 4 sessions, questions, and instead of prompts, we're going to rebrand this as requirements, ideations, actions, and assignments. So I've started one down here called Best Conference. And I did a little setup beforehand. And I can see that Phi is already ready and waiting. And here's the URL if we wanted anyone else to join. But I'm going to start now. And we decided in advance, just an hour or two ago, so we haven't had much time to think about it, that we would set a goal of designing the best startup and investor conference, because we've been to a few lately and have some ideas. And just to kind of get our juices flowing, I took some images here of conferences that you may have kind of been to these types. Like the first one is sort of like a arena style where there's just a huge audience and someone doing slides. And then here's one where there's a kind of more spotty, a little more informal. Then we have more like people in a room. It's a little more interactive. Then we have a very kind of hotel type of uh, gathering that many of us have been in, a very formal setting. Then we have one that's a little more workshopy, and then one that's really kind of hands-on workshopy, just to give us a flavor of what do we mean by an investor conference, right? So we could have different ideas in mind, but that's to set the table. All right, up here is our instructions, and the first thing we're supposed to do is set a goal, which I've done. I've written down a goal here, and in fact, on the left-hand side, I have instructions from the Jam Builder saying fill in the goal card to set the objective. And it tells us there'll be 5 sessions: questions, requirements, ideas, actions, assignments. I am the facilitator, and I'm going to flip the first session card over to start when we're ready. So this is our goal: design the best startup and investor conference we can. When I flip this over, you'll notice that in my private hand, I will receive a question card, and I can use as many of those as I want. And so I'm going to flip this over to start the session. There it is. There's my question card. And I've got 2 new instructions here. Create as many question cards as you can. The first card is your private hand. Drag and drop it on the shared area, and you'll get another. So now I get a message telling me to set the timer for about 5 minutes, which I will, because that's a good amount of time. So I'm going to set 5 minutes, and you and I are going to come up with questions. And here we go. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so I can see more of my screen. Okay. So Fly and I are just going to come up with as many questions as we can related to this goal. Now, I have thought about a few of these beforehand because I wanted to save some time in this first bit. But the next bits are going to depend a lot on what Phi says. So it's not just a solo engagement here, because I'm going to have to kind of respond to some of the things that he comes up with too. You see, I'm drafting something on the card, and I'm then drag and dropping it to the desktop, and we're just really trying to give ourselves as much material to work with as possible going forward. And we have 3 minutes left. Um, So at the moment, I'm kind of focusing more on what I'm doing than looking at what Fai's doing. But in a minute, when I get some of my questions out, I'm going to start looking at his. Okay. So there's like 2 minutes left, and I have kind of exhausted most of my questions. So I'm going to look down and see what he's done and see if there's anything that spurs me. So he says, what are the benefits to attendees? Yeah, I like that one. That one's something similar to something I was thinking of. Is there a long-term gain? Is there short-term gain? Okay, long-term, short-term gains. So I guess that makes me think of something like when does makes me think of something else. I'm gonna put that next to his for a moment. Um, okay, 1 minute. I think that's pretty good. I mean, I sort of had a lot of stuff pre-planned, so I probably overwhelmed you with questions. Mm. But you can get the idea. If there were more of us, we'd have even more questions. All right. So in this last sort of minute that's left, I'm going to use some of this time to kind of organize what we've put on the canvas because really we want to try to refine going forward. So I'm going to cluster these into things that are related. So there is definitely this question of the benefits to attendees, long-term gain, um, and I think I asked something similar, like what's the goals of the participants? And so if I said benefits, I said goals, um, long-term gain. Let's see. So then, is there short-term gain? So these are all about kind of benefits, right? Benefits. Let's see. Any other benefits? Um, Congress content could be decided on. So I think that's about all to do with benefits. Then we have questions. I mean, this kind of spurred on by Fai's question. When does the conference end? After the attendees leave, or is it continual? And then I have something about when does it start? So these are something to do with kind of the setup, the prep. Um, let's see, how does the conference content get decided on? To me, that's also kind of like prep. And is this just another startup content? Okay. Uh, how to measure success? That's kind of interesting. Optimize people time. So then we have a bunch of questions sort of about what is the content. I'm going to put optimize people times here. We have kind of a content question, like I'm going to put the content over here. Oops. Networking, food is sort of like content, talks and workshops, learning networking. Um, then I have questions about venue. Maybe we'd kind of have this over here, sponsorship venue. Let's see, optimize people's time. I'm going to put that here. Um, free or paid. This seems like this may be part of this stuff. Sponsorship, measurements of success. And then I have a question about best conference attended and why. So let's see, maybe this kind of goes here. So I've clustered these questions into, oops, I want to keep these cards together. So I'm going to try to drag and drop all of these together. I'm trying to kind of keep these things clustered so that in the next round, um, I can, we can kind of address these. All right, time is up. Yep. Okay. So in the next round, which I'm going to flip over to start, we're going to come up with requirements based on these questions. So I'm going to turn this over now. Flip the card. Get new instruction session 2 of 5. Consider all the questions. Come up with as many requirements as you can to further the goal. Remember, the goal is design the best startups in the investor conference. Okay, it says recommend setting the timer to 10 minutes. We don't have 10 minutes. I'm going to set it for 5. That's going to give us less time than usual to start. And you'll see in the hand we have a requirements card now. I still have a question card. I don't really need that, but I'm going to keep that there for the moment. So you and I are going to think about this and put down requirements as we see it. So I probably have to stop talking so I can think here. Um, so I'm going to put my requirements near to the cards I'm trying to address. What do you think, by the way, Phi? Because some of these requirements could be things we work out jointly. Like, do you have a strong feeling about free or paid? Does it matter? Would the
Question.
quality of attendees differ if we make it free or paid?
It does actually. Yeah. I mean, you get more serious people who come when they pay for it. But once you have paid, you know, we should explore having different sessions that they can attend for free,
Hmm.
as in extended session, breakout sessions, right? So in that sense, free value adds, but paid ticket in.
Should we offer food? Is that an essential? Is F&B? I guess F&B. I mean, I have some drinks there, but food is a. I think we need to.
I'm afraid in this region you can't get away with
Okay,
that.
so
You have to provide
serve
something
food and drink.
substantial.
Um, serve food and drink is the requirements, but I can also say something like, uh, let's see, uh, I'm going to say use as means of increasing networking, because I think that the food and drink, even though people expect it, as you're saying, we should use that somehow to our advantage to make the things go better somehow. Um, okay, so in some cases, I'm just refining some of the questions that we have. Um, we have 1.5 minutes left. So let's see, what have I not addressed here? Um, oh yeah. So I'm talking about when does it end? Offer attendees activities before and after event to keep engagement. I think that is a good idea as a requirement because we often kind of think, oh, the event is the event, and then it's over. But you've assembled all these people there, and it seems that that's quite valuable. And that's a community that you created in that day, and then they just disperse. So why not keep that community together and benefit from it? I would actually say I'm going to say ask attendees to design perfect uh, conference. This is kind of like my question about what's the best conference you ever attended. We might be able to say to the attendees in advance, help us design this. What do you want to hear? Like we could, rather than define all the topics, we can sort of suggest some and say, what do you want to hear about, right? Okay, 8 seconds left. Good. So I'm going to kind of end this round here. So you can see that now we have quite a few requirements. We've got to find out what the attendees want. Sorry, find out from attendees what their goals are in advance. Find out how we can help them when they attend and after they attend. matchmake attendees based on goals and interests, get as close as possible to come up with dynamic content. Yeah, that's really cool. That's sort of what I was referring to a moment ago, actually. Offer attendees activities before and after the event to keep engagement. Ask attendees to design the perfect conference. This actually, I like this. These two go together, I think. Serve food and drink and use as a means of increasing networking. F&B should help make the networking matchmaking conducive. Okay, these are definitely related. Um, uh, then attendees should pay to set the bar, but have free sessions and define metrics and measure our success. Great. So I think we've got some pretty good requirements. Now we are going to go into the next round, which is ideas. So we come up with ideas now around those requirements. Let's flip it and see what the instructions say. Okay, here's an idea card in my right hand. Jam Builder message says, create as many ideas as we can related to one or more requirements. Place your cards near the requirements you're referring to. Okay, well, it says 5 minutes. Do we have 4 minutes? Yeah, we got 5 minutes. Okay, let's do it in 5 minutes. Come up with as many ideas as we can. I'm going to start mine from the left. This one's a bit long. Let me edit this a bit here. This is a little too long. Let's see. Build profile based social. Okay. All right, I'm trying to keep quiet so we can think and don't. But let's see. Place online attendees to list topics of interest. Yeah, okay. Attendees to. I keep my desktop jumps around when I type plus and minus. That's a short key. Minus makes you zoom out. Plus makes you zoom in. So, um, Mhm. Okay, our time is up. All right. Um, okay, so I'm going to close this down. Time is up. Came up with a bunch of ideas. Let me just kind of read them together a little bit so we keep on the same page. We have, from the requirements that we put over here, we have polls. Do polls, I guess is what I was trying to say, but make them easy. Drag and drop topics, but the attendees can suggest new topics. And we match make people based on their objectives and goals. All right. So if you want to invest in things and startups, you match make that. If they want to find investors, you match make that. If they want to mentor, you match make that. Various other things. Find out how we can help attendees before and after they attend. We have a place online that's been organized for attendees to list out their interest and intent. Right. So scroll bar is a little hard to maneuver, but that is that. Build a profile based on social LinkedIn. Yeah, this is something I was thinking about where AI is often talked about but rarely ever used. If people give their social profiles, it can go and read their social profiles and actually, sorry, it'll read their social profiles and build a profile for the purpose of this event. It'll figure out what their interests are, what they're up to, who they're connected to, et cetera, and then use that. And plus, what you suggested that people go online and kind of identify more clearly what they want to get out of this event. The AI uses that, um, and this is similar. That there's a place they can name the topics they're interested in and the issues they're facing. Okay, that's pretty cool. Like you're saying, well, yeah, what are not just the topics they're interested in, but what issues they're facing, what pain points. I think that's quite good. I'm just going to make a note here. I like pain points as well. This is a word to think about. That I'm going to ask them those questions. We could offer activities before and after the event, icebreaker games and jams, yay, before the event, anticipating certain topics and talks. And then after the event, we can create jams as well, or just leave the same jams open, an asynchronous jam that goes on forever. So it provides feedback, continual learning. Okay, the F&B one, this is fun. I was suggesting box lunches. It makes things kind of more portable rather than people getting stuck in their seats. And I said below, like no sit down areas. I love sit down areas sometimes, but quite frankly, if you're there to network, um, it's I think better to have to move around or stand up at a podium where it's just a few people because it's easier for people to squeeze in and it's not doesn't feel so awkward trying to break in on a conversation. Or if you have a sit down, right? Now that I think about it, we can have like merry-go-round with a bell or something, where every 5 or 10 minutes the bell rings and you got to go sit somewhere else or shift in some way, so people have to keep moving around and talk to each other, which is kind of childish but fun, I think, and get a chance to meet everybody. All right, attendees should pay but set a bar for free sessions. That made me think that maybe we could have sponsors underwrite certain groups, like have a threshold of payment that is significant, but you might want certain student groups or people that you want to help, that you want to see in attendance, whether it's women in coding or various other things that might happen, that you say, okay, let's get a sponsor to specifically underwrite these attendees. So if that attendee ticks that box, that sponsor could underwrite the cost of their ticket, maybe. And you have different tiers of pricing, various forms of access. Yeah, I guess we tend to see like VIP or different levels. So could be or dynamic pricing, something we haven't really thought about. You had dynamic questions, but dynamic pricing is an interesting one. People may hate it though, but just a thought. Ask attendees how they would measure success, and is it based on quality or quantity? How would you measure that? Okay, so we are getting short on time, and we have two more round sessions to do. So let's jump into actions and get our instructions. Create a single action card to further the goal and play it when it's your turn. You can play blank cards regardless of whose turn it is. After your turn, pass to the next player. Okay, so this is a turn-based session. and it's just you and me. I've got an action card, and I guess we get to write as many actions as we want in our turn before we pass it. But I'm not going to time this round. I'm just going to be mindful of time. I'm first, so I'm going to say, gosh, I have to say I really like this idea of doing jams before and after a conference. I'm going to say, um, come up with some brainstorm. I'm not going to say come up. Let's just say, hang on. I'm just going to say brainstorm topic jams to get attendees on the same page prior. So that's an action item. Um, Somehow we might have to ask people for help in designing these, but I think as a starting point, create certain brainstorm jams based on topics that can be run maybe by the different workshop people or whatever. They decide what they want to do. Um, I'm also going to suggest that um, an action item is um, canvas potential sponsors to underwrite certain group groups of attendees. I think that's a good action item for this. And I mean, that there are others I can think of, but in the interest of time, I'm going to pass the round to Fai, the turn to Fai. So I can click next. I can say Fai. Now it's Fai's turn. He's highlighted, and he gets to
Okay.
come up with some.
So
Yes.
I'll just put down one first, and I'll come up with another. But maybe profile jams to make or rather match make people ahead of time
Oh yeah.
at, at the event. But maybe do that ahead of time so that there's a way. I don't have the exact jam idea, but maybe there's a way to list out their profile and then have another jam to match it with someone else or something.
Well, yeah, I think you think if there were cards, there could be cards representing people, attendees, and those cards could link to a profile of them. And they could put those cards down and say, "Here's kind of what I'm looking for, like what my goals are." And other people can question that and then suggest, "Oh, let's meet up" or whatever. So they're already, instead of AI, people are collaborating to find each other in advance. That's pretty cool. I like that idea.
I'm just gonna put down. Not too sure what this is yet, but content versus a cost jam. I don't know. Maybe some kind of way to get a gauge of how much someone is willing to pay for what, and
Well, I'd say an action
that
item
could
for that
be
might be just riffing off that. Say, look at all comparable events for pricing intel. Just at least get a range, and then think about uh, you know that I'm putting that as a note to your card, so I don't change the text. I mean, as a jam leader, I can actually go in and change this card if I wanted to an action card like that. But I think I'm going to keep it blank because I wanted to remind it it's not my action card. It's just a note to Fives. Okay. All right. Good. Well, I think we'll keep it to that. The last round is a really simple one, and it's just there to make sure that there's some kind of follow on from this jam, and that is assignments. And that means here that session 5 is put a blank card, which will have your name on it, near any action that you wish to take responsibility for. Right? You can play more than one. So what I would do, let's say, I really love this profile jams thing. I'm definitely keen on that. So I'm going to put my name there to assign myself to it. I might just say, I love this. Can't wait to work on it. I mean, something like that. Just if you had any more information about what you want to do, you can add it. So that's what I want to work on. Fai wants to work on brainstorming the jam attendees. Okay. So I'm going to call it there to keep it short. Let me just close these down, and we don't. This is not. Oh, this is working. The output. Okay. So the output kind of captures. It's not working perfectly, but the idea is that you're going to have the information and nested, and the reason it's nested is because the cards are related to each other. Those handles that appear when we drag cards near each other show relationships. The system captures the relationships, and in the near future, you'll be able to save this down to YAML in a format we'll call JAML, and that means it's a portable document that you can take with you to transpose that information, this data that you created, into other services. But just to recap what we did together in this brainstorm jam, we had a goal, kind of gave ourselves some thoughts about that. We did a whole bunch of questions around that goal. That led to requirements that we came up with to take those questions, refine those questions. We came up with lots of ideas that addressed those requirements, and then specific action items that we could take to move things forward, and then assigned ourselves to the action items that we want to take responsibility for. And that is the brainstorm jam in a nutshell. Um, if we wanted to kind of keep this for posterity, that's no problem. We have a jam ID that we used up here to reference this jam. This, hopefully we can save this forever, or we can use the JAML to download this mind map, as it were, and we can load that in the system in the future. But we can, for now, just share that URL with people. And that means that people can come back in and keep working on this if they're the participants. Fai and I could continue to work on it. And one of the things we might do, for example, is let's say that we were looking at comparable events, right? And let's say that I had found a really interesting website, and I said, here are here is a really great comparable. I can't spell. And then I highlight that. I create a hyperlink and I paste the hyperlink. And so for now, I'm just going to say the hyperlink is Jamit because this is a great comparable. But it's a hyperlink. So if I click this card, it'll load that link in my browser. So I could start to reference other materials here. Um, and and that would allow me to just bring more research into this. So it can kind of be a living document that continues after this brainstorm. We could continue to use it if we wish. Just as I added images up here, I could also add links to other things. Great. Well, thank you very much. That's Brainstorm Jam in a nutshell. I think we did that in 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So that was pretty good. I think my advice would be probably to try to find more people to do it with and to give yourself more time, maybe 60 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes, because that would really allow you to explore um, a new goal collaboratively with a lot more brains on it. Not that Fai and I don't have enough brain power, but the more the merrier. Thanks a lot.